Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Wealthy Dentist Podcast. I'm your host, Ward Powell. And if you're a dentist looking to crack the code on how to grow your practice and dominate in this space, then stick around. You're in the right place. Every week, we're sitting down with some amazing dentists who are doing incredible things in their businesses. We're talking about everything from how they keep their teams loyal and dedicated to how they stay ahead of the game in this crazy, fast-changing industry. You'll hear about hacks like using virtual assistants to free up your time, strategies to make more sales with less effort, and even mind-blowing stories about patents and inventions that are changing the industry as we know it. And it's not just about growing your practice, it's also about finding out what works from a clinical perspective. Whether you're just starting or you're ready to scale to the next level, there's something here for you. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive in. Welcome, Dr. James Williams, to the Wealthy Dentist Podcast today. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you taken the time to share some of the gems that you have available for the listening public, the community of dentists and dentist professionals. Thank you again for coming in. I'd like to first start off by asking you, so what got you involved? What got you into this particular field and why?
Well, thank you for having me on. I love doing stuff like this. I learned a lot from listening to podcasts, reading about other dentists and orthodontist journeys. So I think educating our colleagues with our experiences is super valuable. So appreciate you having me on. So I, to answer your question, basically chose dentistry because I wanted to be an orthodontist. So I got braces at age 11. Pretty cookie cutter case. I had it pretty easy, as I've come to learn on myself. I had a great experience in braces. I thought my orthodontist was the coolest guy. He loved his job. He loved hanging out with kids. And the lifestyle didn't hurt. I always joke, it's a true story, but I always joke with people that I broke a bracket on a Wednesday. My mom called the office to get me out of school, get him in, or get me in and get it fixed. And the ladies that worked for my orthodontist, Dr. Jim Hayosh, now retired, but he was in St. Clair Shores, Michigan, told my mom, Dr. Hayosh golfs on Wednesday morning, so you're going to have to wait till the afternoon or just come in a different day. And I thought to myself, as a pretty avid golfer, I think I could do this. I think I could golf on Wednesday mornings and put brackets on the side. So that's a short little flip into my first interest. And then, as I went through my education and learned more about dentistry and changing people's lives with smile design and, all that fun stuff, only cemented my initial interest in just wanting to golf on Wednesday mornings.
Awesome, man. Dentist on the side. I love that. Well, you must be quite a planner to actually put the golf in with the dentistry, with the business side of dentistry. Man, it's quite an undertaking, to say the least. And I know that could be quite a challenge. So what have you found to be the balancing point that you found that works best for you?
Well, I couldn't do it without my wife, that's for sure. I'm a pretty young guy at 34. I got married very young at 24.
Wow.
So we got our 10-year anniversary coming up later this summer. And
Awesome.
She runs the house. We have 3 kids under the age of 6.
Wow.
And so she handles a lot of that. I think I made a really good decision to not work on Fridays. For those of us that have the luxury to do that, I'm able to spend some weekday time with my kids and get a lot of my admin stuff done for my office. Just time to catch up that I don't have Monday through Thursday. Running a 2-location ortho practice and being a dad and a husband. So you got to have a rock next to you to do this. And building a practice at a young age is something I'm blessed to do, but it's also a burden at the same time. So yeah, couldn't do it without the wife. I guess she's my balancing act. She's my balancing point.
I love that. I mean, family
part of the process, understands what's needed of them. They're handling their particular specialty, and you're handling your particular specialty, and together you make a family, and then the children are a bonus, right?
Yep.
That's
That's one word for them.
that is so great. That is so great. So what has influenced you the most in just the field of dentistry? And are there any mentors out there that you currently have and have had since you started your journey?
Yeah, so my orthodontist, I'd have to start with Dr. Hayash, back to him. Just the way he was so hands-on, and just created a patient experience that for me at that age was so different, right? No one wants to go to the pediatrician when they're a little kid.
Right.
Most kids don't love going to the dentist to get their teeth cleaned and get x-rays and stuff. He
Yes.
created an environment where I was like, hey, this is cool. I love going in here. Everyone's nice. I'm usually not in pain when I'm in the chair. I'm watching TV, missing some school. I was like, this is sweet. So the way he ran his practice, I mean, it was very patient first. Hear about doctor first practices, patient first practices. He was very much so patient first, and someone I've tried to emulate and build my practice model around. And then I did my orthodontic training at Rutgers University on the East Coast. So a lot of orthodontists from out there that have been instrumental for me. Dr. Frank Bogdan, he's an orthodontist in Bayonne, New Jersey. So he introduced me to the Damon bracket system, which is what my bracket of choice is. Not that there's a right or wrong one, but I just loved his treatment philosophy and his outcomes. So him, I mean, I could go on. There's probably 10 other faculty members that I don't really want to leave anybody out, but I guess I'll just stick with Dr. Bogdan and Dr. Jean McGill as well, another Damon user. She's in Pennsylvania, commuted in all the way to New Jersey to teach us 2 days a month. So I guess the two of them, and then our program director, Dr. Anil Ardeshna, our program chair, Dr. Tom Cangelosi. Those are names that a lot of orthodontists will be familiar with, whether you're from New Jersey or not. So I guess those are just a handful of people that taught me really the brick and mortar basics of orthodontics.
That's awesome.
And them and Dr. Hayash have kind of allowed me to build the patient experience I want while also being good at what I do. So
that is awesome. So I would think then, I mean, like anything else, there's definitely a village in your community that help you along the way. Is there's any community, are you finding yourself or finding the time to actually participate in the community service kind of events, or how does that work for you? And what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so as an orthodontist, right, we see a lot of younger folks. So we do a mouth guard clinic for local schools. We also do a lot of fundraising help for schools. I have kids coming in all the time. Hey, support our robotics team, support our baseball team, whatever the case may be. And it's usually just a no-brainer, easy thing to support. Number one, and number two, usually get a return on investment. All you got to get is usually one patient out of something like that. And so it's a win-win, both for those teams or those kids and us. So we have a lot of community work, not a ton of like actual orthodontics besides I guess like the mouth guard thing, but being involved with the community and being present. I live a good distance from my office, or both my offices, I should say, about 30 plus minutes. So I rely on my staff to help me out with a lot of those events, and they're great about doing some of that work with me or going without me.
That's awesome. So are you finding, let me ask you this, because I know like on the business end, it takes, like you have a creative person, and then you have the, I don't want to say bottleneck, but the person that runs the scenes that are unseen, you know what I mean, in business, and kind of stay focused on just that. You sound like you're kind of doing them both. Is that true, or do you have someone else that's doing the like the bean counting and all that other stuff that goes with that?
So for the first, I guess to just give a little history on the practice first. So long story short, I purchased 2 different practices on the exact same day in April of 2023.
Awesome.
I kind of gave my notice at my side gig, and then my side gig was like, "Hey, we want you to just buy it. We're kind of done with it." So
Ooh.
it's not the way you would draw it up. That's for
No.
sure. My bank account is still in recovery mode. It probably will be for a while, but I figured sometimes when people say jump, you got to say how high. So
Right.
when I did that, and as a new young business owner, I didn't really have an office manager for the first year. So I
Oh,
wanted to know where literally every penny was going in my practice, number one. And number two,
good,
wanted
good.
to know how I liked everything done so that when I did hire and promote my office manager, who I just did a couple months ago now, it was a very seamless transition where I had to spend just a couple weeks kind of explaining, hey, this is how we do what we do and why. And it was pretty easy and straightforward from there. So
That is awesome. So your office manager is handling both sites?
yes, correct. We have someone at each site who's kind of in charge of the day to day. Hey, collect your down payment, start your contract, submit to insurance kind of things. But then my office manager kind of does oversight over both of them. Yep.
So do you find that you run one business just as you run the other business? Is that like, a practice that you kind of an approach that you take?
I mean, my short answer, I guess, I would say is no right now. Although I want to be that way in the future.
Hmm.
The 2 practices I purchased were very
Oh,
different practice systems, different marketing strategies. I mean,
okay.
they almost couldn't be more different in terms of the ortho world.
Hmm.
And that's the other thing with orthodontics, right? It's not, hey, we're going to pull your tooth out today. It's you got 18 to 24 months of treatment. So nothing is overnight fixes with orthodontics. And so you have to make sure before you rip the Band-Aid off with one of the practices you want to mold to match the other one. You got to have everybody trained to do kind of a slow, steady mesh to get to the point where you feel like your staff's ready for you to do that. And we're not quite there yet. Certainly, we're making steps in the positive direction, but still work to be done for sure.
Well, that's great. That's great. So you are looking at actually having it, whatever happens here happens there. And I didn't even, you when you said every practice is not the same, but you do the same kind of work. But as you mentioned, one client might need 24 months, where another one might need 36 months. We just don't know, 12 months, whatever that is, whatever that number is, that can change some things in such ways where you have to do things a bit differently. Um, Interesting. So what have you found in terms of technology? What have you found that works best for you? Or are you looking to create some technology of your own? Have you found something that works best for you? How are you looking at that?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say a younger generational type of dentist slash orthodontist, I'm very tech forward. I grew up on a computer basically, so
Hmm.
I feel I'm basically an IT person for my staff sometimes throughout the course of a day or a week. But
Understood.
it's something where technology is great, but you got to make sure it's a good fit for you and your practice and your staff.
Hmm.
So one good example is I know I want to be a 3D printing type of practice in the future, but we're
Mm.
not ready for that yet. That requires a lot of time and training, and so I don't feel like I have a staff member that I feel like I'm ready to bless with all that responsibility and learning. And so we're very tech forward in that we only take impressions to make your final retainers at the end of treatment, and that's only in one of my 2 offices. We do digital scanning for everything. I don't use cone beam CT. I just don't feel like it's quite necessary for orthodontics. I'm not huge into the airway stuff yet. I'd like to be. Again, that's another one of those things where I just don't feel like my staff and my practice are ready to jump full bore into yet.
Hmm.
Got to crawl before you walk, before you run, sort of thing. But
Yes.
uh, Damon brackets are I think the bee's knees. They're very expensive, but I think they're worth their weight in gold. And Ormco, their manufacturer, does a great job. Pouring R&D into developing better and newer Damon iterations of the Damon bracket as we go through. Damon Ultima is the one I choose to use right now. Um, so yeah, from a bracket perspective and an aligner perspective, I think we're very tech forward, especially at one of our two offices. The other one, we got some steps to make to catch up to the other one.
Mm. You know what? I kind of got ahead of myself. I wanted to kind of like tap into as well, if you don't mind. Could you share with us? I mean, like one of the major challenges for new dentists is actually finding their spot in the industry, and you know, let alone trying. I mean, like they want to do well in dentistry. They want to do well, but here's the deal. I mean, how can you possibly, um, I would say, you know, as you say, you're young. I mean, couple in 2023, you started two businesses, well, two sites. How
Yep.
could you do that so quickly and you just got into business?
Yeah. So, I mean, to your point of finding your niche, right? So, um, I know that I am not going to be the highest volume practice in the state. I'm also not going to be the TikTok orthodontist. I'm a firm believer you got to be true to who you are. That's just not me. And so I feel like people will, patients are smart. They'll see through. Okay, I know Dr. J really well. He's not a TikTok guy. What's he doing on TikTok dancing around with his staff, right? So you got to find a spot that suits you. And we're in weird times right now with social media, number one, how patients find dentists or specialists, right?
Mhm.
Um, I'm blessed. One of my two locations is right above a pediatric dentist, so that
Oh,
obviously
wow.
worked really well for us.
Yes.
And so I think I'm more the exception to the rule. A lot of orthodontists get their patients right off of Google nowadays. A lot of general dentists do their own aligners now, which for certain cases is great, and it gives access to care to a lot of people. And so you just gotta, I think, be true to yourself is the shortest answer, I guess, to your question.
Mm.
And be confident in your ability to provide a service to people and price your services to the degree that you're confident to deliver that service, right? So if you think you're going to give an A+ service, then you shouldn't price match Joe Schmo orthodontist next door just because you need a patient, right? You should say, hey, we're not going to be the cheapest office in town, and that's because we think we're super badass. If people find value in that, great. And if they just want the cheapest deal, sweet. That's probably not going to be with us.
Right. Yeah, right. Very, very good. Very good. Because yeah, we don't want everybody anyway to begin with, right?
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You want to definitely be selective and you want to have let people you know, if they feel that they have to find someone cheaper, then let them do that. And then they find out later that that wasn't necessarily the case, but they have to learn on their own, so to speak, and make their decisions based on, I guess, the kind of income that or the kind of payments they want to make at that point. So I don't know. That can be kind of tricky. So discuss some of the most challenges, if you could, uh, that you faced in your business, as I mean, like, I don't know, as you've been dealing with the work that you do.
So I'm going to actually answer your question in kind of a weird way. So I feel like every single Facebook group post, whatever you name it right now, whether it's dentists or orthodontists, are saying that the job market's horrible and I can't find good people. I can't find good staff.
Yeah, I've heard
Um,
that. Yeah.
and to me, turnover is a killer. So I train and pay my staff really well. If I could give one piece of advice to an up and coming new owner, it's really hard to swallow that pill and that overhead to train and pay your staff well. But it'll pay off for itself tenfold if you can find people that are going to stay with you for 20 years. And so I guess that's a way to solve a challenge. I believe pretty strongly in that. I think one of the biggest challenges that I've undertook was graduating in the era that I did with the level of debt that I have. It's no secret that dental school is expensive and orthodontic
Right.
residency is no different,
Exactly.
if not more.
Yes.
I was blessed enough to have my parents pay for my undergraduate education,
Awesome.
and still graduated with about $700,000 in debt.
Wow.
That's just for dental and ortho.
Mm.
My training being in New Jersey and the cost of living out there was certainly a factor in that for sure. And my dental school was a private, University of Detroit Mercy is a private institution. I wouldn't have changed a thing, but that's a harsh reality to graduate with. And so
Yes.
even as what may appear to be a thriving, 2-location orthodontic practice, I'm not taking home very much money compared to someone that's been in the business for a while, even if they only have a 3-chair tiny ortho practice. Us younger folks are going to be paying off debt for a long time, and it also makes purchasing a practice extremely difficult. You have to find and kind of get lucky, really. You have to find a dentist or orthodontist who's willing to basically take a little bit of a lower offer or payment because they believe not selling to private equity is the right thing to do. And that's kind of a sad place for dentistry to be, in my opinion. But that's kind of where we are. I think that's the most challenging thing that especially younger docs are facing now and will continue to face.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So I mean, like definitely 700,000, 750,000 is nothing to sneeze at for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I find that dentists do that helps them along the way is like you said, you've already said it, find and pay the people that you want to put in the right seats and actually are in the right seat to do the work that you don't have to go back and do. You're playing a long game, and that's, to me, is the game to play. I mean, you can't like think you're going to be successful overnight, and that you got the right attitude as to how I like the way you're approaching this. This is great. So then now you have bought 2 practices. You got a wonderful wife and 3 children. Wow, man. Life, I don't know if life could be any better. And you know what I'm saying? I mean, you got a wonderful wife, you have these beautiful children that are a bonus. You have a wonderful staff, obviously, because not only do you care about them, they obviously care about you. And so you've been in business for how long now?
So April 1st of this year was our 1-year birthday. So
Oh,
what's
wow.
15,
Wow.
16 months.
Yeah.
One of those
Yeah.
locations I was an associate at for about 3 years. So my staff, actually everyone on my staff from that practice stayed on with me after I purchased it. But the other one was, pretty short. So
That was, like you said, did you say lucky? I think you did. You got to have some luck in this process. I mean, hard work is great. Being a visionary is wonderful, but man, luck sure helps when it comes. It's not that you're expecting it, but when it
Sure.
comes, you're like, okay, come on in.
I mean,
Yeah.
to the point, right? So I give my notice to that second practice that I was to purchase the other one. And they basically said, hey, we're going to give up on it. I think a lot of people would have just said, okay, great. I can't do that, or 2 at once is too much, or whatever. And, it was lucky to have that opportunity, but I feel like making the right decision that I feel like I made now in hindsight felt like a bit of a gamble at the time, honestly. But, you make your own luck at a certain point as well, too. So.
Any financial mistakes that you can talk about that will help the young thriving dentists?
Absolutely. I feel like I've made every mistake in the book in a year, especially when I'm doing all my own QuickBooks accounting, bean counting, like you say. So I know where the pennies go.
Right.
So I think one of the mistakes I made was finding the right marketing avenue.
Oh, yeah.
And getting good bang for your buck. There it is with social media and
hard.
Hey, search engine optimization and your website and hey, we're gonna run ads for you. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you. I get 5 people on LinkedIn a week asking to connect because they can do my website better or run ads for me better.
Yeah.
You have to put in the time. You have to vet the companies. You got to talk to a bunch of people that have used them. And I started with company A that I will not name.
Okay.
And in the beginning it was all butterflies and roses, and then I just started looking at hard numbers and just not seeing the ROI that they told me I was going to get. Right. And so I think pulling the plug and being decisive when you follow your instinct, right? So I'm looking at the numbers and I'm like, okay, we're like breaking even, but that's not the goal, right? At that point, what am I doing here? And instead of listening to the company when I start that breakup process and they say, oh, we're going to do this better, we're going to change this, we're going to give you free service XYZ for 6 months to make up for it. You got to trust your gut. And pull the plug. Don't be scared to disappoint somebody. A lot of people are people pleasers, and I'm guilty of that myself, especially with my patients. But you can't be scared to make the decision is right for your business, even if it's a hard one.
Wow. So you're in the trenches. You are actually doing the business side literally, and even though you have an office manager, and you're doing the work of a dentist, orthodontist, a lot of creativity there.
Yep.
Man, that is wow. That's quite an undertaking. I don't know if you're familiar with Russell Brunson.
Sounds familiar, but can't say for sure.
I would suggest reading all of his books. Expert Secrets, .com Secrets, Traffic.com Secrets. I would suggest, and you can actually get 1 or 2 of them free. I got 1 free. I bought the other 2, but fascinating information. I mean, like there is a trilogy, and I think it starts. Let's see, which one is I think Expert Secrets was the first. No, maybe .com was the first one, and then Expert Secrets, and then what was the last one? Whichever the last one I mentioned. The last one had to do traffic. So you had .com, you had Expert Secrets, and traffic.com. So you go Traffic Secrets. Those are excellent pieces. And if you go through those books, and it's a playbook, those books, anybody to come into you, I don't know who you're using right now for your marketing program, but any of those books will give you like an inside view of what you're really listening to and what they're really doing.
Yeah,
But it
awesome.
really help you. In my opinion, it's done wonders for me. I just love that guy Russell Brunson. He's really the marketing genius they say he is. So enough for that commercial. He didn't pay me anything to say anything about that. But I think, when you're talking about marketing, that is a big, like major challenge for anybody that's in business.
Yeah. Especially with, less direct, especially as a specialist, where it just, back in the day, dentists didn't do Invisalign, or braces. And you'd have 10 different guys or ladies referring to you. And we don't have that luxury anymore. And so, you gotta fight for yourself. It's at a certain point, dog eat dog. I love my referrers. Those who are listening, I love you. And, hopefully you guys get it back on the back end with veneers, bridges, and all that fun stuff.
Right.
But yeah, it's hard. You gotta vouch for yourself, and online marketing is crucial, whether we like it or not nowadays.
So looking ahead, what do you think some of the innovations is going to be? Some of the trends, are going to be, and how do you envision your practice in the future?
Yeah. So, I've seen this discussed. Obviously, AI is a hot topic right now. And we've probably been using it in dentistry just as long as most industries, whether we're aware of it or not, right? I feel like setting up aligner cases is going to be done a lot by AI, where you can set up your own preference is, hey, I want attachments X, Y, and Z when case looks like A, B, and C, and hopefully be able to cut out a lot of the time
Yeah.
that goes into setting up those cases, right? Where
Yes.
I send a case to whatever aligner company I choose, how I'm feeling that day, and it's a week before I get it back, and then we go back and forth once or twice, and so streamlining all of that. If there's a company out there that's going to invest strongly in AI research and how to get that all streamlined, they can cut their overhead on how many techs they have setting up cases. They can be super popular with us practitioners to get cases done quicker and back to us faster, which helps our money in the door faster, which is always good, right? So
Mhm.
I don't know if I have like a specific invention along with that, but if there's a company out there that can make it so I can send them a case that morning and they can send me aligners the next day, now we're talking.
Wow.
With AI and 3D printing, direct printing aligners, I know is starting to be something that's done a little bit more commonplace. If that gets ramped up to the speed that we can with 3D printing right now, Invisalign is the largest 3D printing company in the world. And not a lot of people know that. They're a dental company, right? But they're the biggest 3D printing company in the world. So
Wow.
if someone can isolate that AI ability to turn around a case along with direct printing of aligners, that's going to be a game changer for us orthodontists specifically.
Mm, mm. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Well, let me ask you this as we wrap up. I wanted to know what kind of advice would you give to uh, our listeners who aspire to become a wealthy dentist?
Yeah, I think there's two big ones I would talk about. Um, Dental school and for me orthodontics, you learn a lot about the basics, right, which is super important. But doing your own research outside of your school curriculum, while you're in school, for the younger dentists out there that still have the ability to do so, you have so many resources available to you when you're in school, and you're so bogged down in the, all
Yeah.
right, I got to study for this biochem exam next week
Mhm.
Thursday, and yeah, that's great, and you want to do well, of course, but um, faculty are such a resource. Ask them questions that are totally outside of your comfort zone and what you're being taught. You might be surprised how tech forward and how they are with implants and aligners and 3D printing and some of those buzzwords where the direction of dentistry is going. Including, I'm reading now about that study in Japan. I don't know if you've seen about implanting stem cells that can just regenerate a tooth now, alternating, or giving an alternative to implants. There's some wild stuff going on. So do your research outside of school, I guess, is a big one. And then go visit other practices. And that goes for whether
Very good.
in dental school, in residency, you've been practicing for 25 years. I don't care. You get set in your
Mm.
ways, and things are always changing. And sometimes, you blink and 5 years have gone by, and now there's a whole bunch of new research that maybe you haven't heard about. That you're the guy down the street or the guy in the state over is already doing, and it's helping their practice or helping their patients. So set up golf trips with dentists and then go chat. I guess is a great strategy, at least for me as a golfer.
Oh wow, that's a great way to like bring it to an end too. We started with golfing, we ended with golfing. That's awesome, man. And you must be a serious golfer.
I dabble. I dabble.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So is there anything that you would like to leave us before we close? And how would one get in touch with you if they
Yeah.
wanted to?
I guess I'll just leave with a little bit more about my practice. And I love people who reach out to me. I think people who do reach out to me will find I'm very responsive. I'm just from that millennial generation. My phone's at my hip, whether I like it or not, at all times. So my practice is called Bowtie Orthodontics. We're in Greater Detroit, Michigan. Our two locations are Waterford and Troy. Obviously, we got website, Instagram, Facebook. We're not on X or Twitter, but we are on TikTok. I'm not in more than I think one of those videos. My staff likes to play around on that, so you can find us on all those ways. call the office. I'm happy to give my cell phone out to people that that want to chat more fully about things that have worked for me or didn't work for me.
Awesome.
And I guess the last thing I'll leave most people with is to I guess give a little tip. Be organized and on time. Organization's huge. I tell my staff all the time, there's two kinds of people in the world. There's people who have 8,000 unread emails in their inbox at any given time, and there's people who have zero. I'm a little biased, and maybe it comes with a job where you line up teeth by the half millimeter for a living. You know, I'm a zero in my inbox kind of guy, and
Me
I feel
too.
like that helps me, you know, just stay organized, stay on top of my
Yeah.
life, and not forget things, and appear to my patients and other people to care about them and be responsive and respectful of them and their time. So that's something that I always appreciate when I reach out to somebody. Hey, I need a little help with this. If I get a text or an email back that day, hey, let's set something up, or this would be great. I just love when we get that. So yeah, guess that's a little bit about Jay Williams and Bowtie Orthodontics in as short a time period as we can crunch in as much info as we can.
That was great, man. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people listening that's going to enjoy, probably more than likely, a few reaching out to you. Again, thank you for coming. Appreciate that.
No, I'm excited to hear all the other interviews that you're conducting, and like I said at the outset, things like this really help other orthodontists, other dentists, other specialists, you know, grow and provide better care for our patients, and that's a win-win for everybody. So I appreciate you extending the invite, and it's not something I've done before, but I had a blast doing it. So I appreciate you reaching out to a young gun like myself, and not that I have 20 years of business experience to
Right.
somebody, but I'm happy to share what I have so far.
And so it's yeah, that's right. And it's so important. It's so important to get all spectrums of the information as you shoot to your stars, you know? I mean,
Absolutely.
man, and I'm like I said, I'm sure there's going to be some people that are out there listening is going to probably reach out to you, listen more, repeat, because they can put this on rewind, right?
Yep.
Have a great afternoon, Dr. Williams, and we look to talk to you again in the future.
That sounds great. I look forward to it, brother.
Yeah.